It was the year 1887. A Kansas man by the name of Harvey Wilcox, a prohibitionist, meaning someone who supports the banning of both the sale and production of alcohol and other substances, moved to Los Angeles, California, with the idea of creating a community based on his own sober religious principles. And he did just that by buying a plot of land and making a real estate subdivision out of it. However, right around the corner of the 20th century, a big shot in the real estate industry came along, going by the name H.J. Whitley, who would turn this subdivision into what we call today the movie capital of America. And inspired by the abundance of holly bushes in the area, it was officially named Hollywood. Now, the Hollywood studio system, formally codified at the beginning in 1927, was a monopoly of 8 filmmaking companies that dominated the industry, consisting of the Big Five being MGM, Warner, Fox, Paramount, and RKO, and the Little Three, Universal, Columbia, United Artists. A hallmark of studios in the Hollywood studio system is their high degree of vertical integration. This simply means that most film productions, distribution, and exhibitions were handled internally. The Big Five got their footing when cinema owners from New York moved to Los Angeles in order to operate their own studios, partially because of the diverse geography of the area providing great set locations, and mostly to escape copyright restrictions and tax laws as the rich are known to do. However, the Little Three mainly formed in opposition to large amounts of influence wielded by the Big Five, who made it difficult for films to be produced outside of their bubble. One of the defining aspects of film produced under the Hollywood studio system was their reliance on visual story techniques, multiple including Now, before took over a film, intertitles were used to portray dialogue and although eventually minor sound effects would become to be used in silent films, intertitles mainly served 3 main purposes: dialogue, exposition, and tone/mood indicators. Intertitles could also add a great deal to the tone of a film via the font they used being able to add additional meaning. However, intertitles wouldn't have long left, as the Big Five eventually standardized on sound on film as the main audio encoding method. After several previous and alternative attempts, the first film to feature synchronized dialogue and not just orchestral music and sound effects was created in 1997, The Jazz Singer, that used intertitles when not voiced. The lack of breaks in character dialogue from intertitles lent towards a more natural flow of conversation, since the intertitles could sometimes be overused, which negatively impacted the pacing and broke the visual flow of the movie, forcing audiences to switch from watching the scene to reading. Sounds in films also assisted in conveying more complex emotions via intonation, adding more context/ambience to a scene via background noise. For example, the sounds of war in the film All Quiet on the Western Front. The first films often put aspects such as gags, stunts, and impressive feats over conventional storytelling that seek to convey any information past what is currently on screen. For example, Arrival of a Train, which is quite literally a shot of a train pulling into a station. There was a lack of distinct characters in these earliest films, with stark archetypes being much more common and easily identifiable via a stereotypical costume. For example, the robber, the miner, princess, or the priest. This began a trend down with the changes in audience expectations, and as literacy rates increased and novels with character-driven stories began to see more mainstream access, leading audiences to expect the same from movies. This then led to the character-driven plot structure of plays and novels being adopted by the film industry, including the 3-act structure. The 3-act structure serves to separate a story's beginning, middle, and end into their own distinct parts. The ending of a story would introduce the characters, their goals, and provide the main scene of the story. During the midsection of a story, we see escalating stakes until we hit a narrative point like the climax, and the end being a resolution of conflicts within the middle. The partitioning of these plot beats served to keep the audience engaged throughout the film, and allowed for them to easily follow the sequence of events while also simplifying the writing process. As storytelling practices continue to grow and evolve in Hollywood, patterns began to emerge between film releases in terms of film practices, character archetypes, conventions, tropes, and plot points. This collection of attributes contributed to the je ne sais quoi that categorizes a film into its genre. While these genres were an emergent property of filmmaking in Hollywood, it was codified by the major studios in order to better market movies to their audience via their classifications, like any business selling a diverse product. Some examples of the first genres codified are westerns like The Great Train Robbery and horror films such as Original Nosferatu. Standardized genres now meant that audiences could recognize and anticipate narrative beats, detecting foreshadowing more easily, and led to the greater effect when subverting expectations. Genre codification also allowed for studios to specialize in a certain brand. For example, Warner Bros. Became known for their gritty style of gangster films and noirs, MGM mainly produced glossy high-production musicals, and Universal had its horror films. The big studios relied heavily on film stars, actors at the forefront of the industry and public consciousness, in order to produce big box office results. Actors like Audrey Hepburn, Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, and Clark Gable were all great actors sold to the public as sweethearts and heartthrobs, whereas other actors, such as Humphrey Bogart, pride their career on their versatility. In addition to directly payrolling these actors and contracting them to star in films, each actor had a public persona crafted by the studio, which could not be deviated from. All actions taken in the public eye had to be prescribed methods of behavior. This enforcement of an alter ego also contributed to the prevalence of typecasting actors, like Marilyn Monroe, as the blonde bombshell sold on her sex appeal, and Anna May Wong typecast into the exotic oriental role. This led to these actresses and many other actors like them essentially playing the same character in movies with different names. Editing is the process of taking and combining raw footage to help string along a narrative. Editing plays a crucial role in filmmaking, serving multiple functions such as emphasizing the emotions of a scene, ensuring smooth dialogue flow, establishing spatial relations between characters, and conveying the passage of time. The early Hollywood filmmakers relied on a system known as continuity editing, which involved assembling scenes shots from various angles and sizes to maintain a seamless sense of time and space. A prime example of effective continuity editing can be seen in Casablanca. This technique consists of 4 key components: island matching, which ensures that character gaze directs the audience focus to the correct on-screen object or person; eye trace, which guides the viewer's attention across cuts by following natural visual movement; the 180-degree rule, which maintains consistent spatial relations between characters by keeping the camera on one side of an imaginary axis; and matching action, which smooths transitions by cutting between different angles of the same action at the precise moment of movement. Another major editing technique is cross-cutting, which interweaves separate actions occurring simultaneously within a film's narrative. An early example of cross-cutting can be found in The Birth of a Nation, while a more modern and well-known use of technique appears in the dream heist scene from Inception. Occurrences ranging from the shift from silent to voice films, or the shift from spectacle to character-based stories, are examples of how Hollywood studios sought control over the entire filmmaking process. Some practices are seen today as excessive, like the overreach into the personal lives of actors and actresses under the star system. The establishment of a sequential plotline and cookie-cutter molds for genres that a film can fit into all contributed to making films on an industrial scale. This large volume of media available for consumption drove innovation among these companies and the smaller ones, hoping to make an upset, establishing norms and practices that persist to the present day. However, the days in Hollywood golden years were certainly numbered.